Hello humans and welcome to another video. I have a confession to make. I'm a K-pop fan. Considering that my audience so far consists only of my dad and maybe like 2 of my friends, then this should be not a surprise to you guys. There is one K-pop group in particular that, as many other people, I have been obsessing over, and that is Stray Kids. The worst part is that I am not only a K-pop fan, but also a huge nerd. One of the nerdy things I like to do is play Dungeons & Dragons. For those of you who clicked on this video because you saw Stray Kids in the title and have no clue what D&D is, then let me explain. D&D is a tabletop role-playing game, which is basically an advanced way of playing pretend, and you have boards and pictures. There is one person who narrates the story and other people are characters in the game, and all of their decisions are affected by pure luck of rolling dice. Freaking dice. It's usually fantasy themed, but it doesn't have to be. And my nerdy/fangirly brain was like, you know what would be cool? If Stray Kids had their own characters in D&D, which of course is a silly idea, so naturally I didn't do anything about it. But the idea never left. It's been 4 years. I need to get this bizarre plotline out of my head, okay? So I guess this is an introduction to possible Stray Kids Dungeons & Dragons campaign. And I hope you enjoy. So first, of course, we got Bangchan. And as you can see, I am using a lot of references, and you will quickly see as to why, because, I mean, you can see me evidently struggling. But yeah, I thought that a good character for Bangchan would be a half-elf paladin. That means that he's half-human, half-elf, and paladin is a class that you can be in D&D. I thought it would fit the world well because he could dedicate his life to serving people and serving his deity, and that would be like him training for his dream for a really long time. And it wouldn't be until he, by fate, by chance, not really sure, is given the opportunity to actually go on adventure, but in a very different way than he imagined. The compass around his neck plays a very big role in it. It was a gift from a friend who's a bartender, and at first he thought it didn't work, but it turns out that that little thing is gonna have much more impact on his personal life and on Stray Kids' adventure than he would have thought. Next up is Lino. I decided to keep Lino human, which might seem boring since you can be literally any race in D&D, but it just seemed fitting. And his class is wizard. His backstory would be that he went to a special wizarding school, and he's just been always fascinated with magic and the fact that magic has so many different sources and types. The special type of magic that he's been very interested in, sadly, is a type of magic that seems to be forbidden in where he lives, and he found only very few sources in his school about it, and so he ventures off to a city with a temple of Chance, a deity, because the temple is supposed to have source material to what he is looking for. But instead, he gets tangled up in something else. Chanbin's character design is very different from him, I suppose, but I really like it. I made him a tiefling rogue barbarian. So tieflings are a race in D&D who are kind of descendants of demonic origin, but they themselves are not evil or demonic, they just have the looks. And rogue, well, a thief and barbarian, basically just a giant living tank, because he's kind of both, I feel like. For his character, I thought he would have very Robin Hood-like qualities, and his goal would be to help the people who are in disadvantage, and so he would venture off to the local temple to find kind of where he can help with public service and help those who actually need it, and not just the people who finance things, you know? So I am really proud of how this drawing turned out. He's probably my favorite. Now let me tell you, drawing Hyunjin was the most difficult thing ever. It just gave me such anxiety. What you're seeing right now is my second attempt, and still the results does not really look like him, but I tried, okay? So for his character, I made him a full blood elf and a druid. So unlike Lino, who had to study for his magic, Hyunjin, being a druid, is connected with nature, and that's where he gets his magic source. Considering his backstory, I cannot tell you much yet, but all you need to know is that even though he is a druid, he is surprisingly scared of bugs and has a very, somebody would say, a prince-like attitude. I don't know how to explain his lore without spoiling too much. I think I've already spoiled enough. But I hope you enjoyed the drawing, even if it's not perfect. Made Han's character a human bard, and now you're maybe like, wait, isn't that who Han is just in real life? And that's exactly why I made him a human bard, because he fits the bardic stereotypes so well, and it just didn't feel right to change. I think the only thing that is keeping Han away from being a completely stereotypical bard is the fact that we do not have a real-life account of him seducing a dragon, but I'm sure it's gonna show up somewhere at some point. For his lore, of course, music is his passion, even in this universe, and so he wants to spread it and travel around. The problem is that music making requires much more socializing than you would think, and a lot of discussions, and needing a place to stay, and not having enough money to do so. And oh boy, where's cheap spot to go when you don't know where else to go? Either a cheap tavern or maybe at the temple they could give him a spot to rest. How wrong can that go? Felix's character is the first one that I came up with, actually, all those years ago, because the thought of having either a small gnome or a fairy just come up to you with such a deep voice seemed comical to me, and I have drawn his cartoon version quite a few times. This is my first time doing a semi-realistic, well, not semi-realistic, like a bit more realistic than usual version of him. And he will either be a fairy or gnome, I'm not really sure yet, but he is a ranger, which means that he is good with bows and arrows, and he's also good at nature orientation. I think for him, the main interest in becoming an adventurer is all the traveling and seeing all the different places and areas, and that's his main passion, just discovering all different places that there can be. But when you're such a small size in a town that you don't know, trying to find an ally is much harder than you would think. Luckily, within his search of trying to find directions to a local temple where apparently textbooks for learning the common language are, he finds somebody who is similar to him, but not maybe in the way he imagined, but he found a brother. Sungmin will be a soldier that got hired to be one of the guards at the temple since there's a lack of staff. Sungmin is very good at what he was hired to do. He is very alert. He seems to be able to hear even things that a regular person would just not notice. And all of the Stray Kids members see his skill and they are very amazed by it. And they sometimes jokingly say that his skills are supernatural a bit. When it comes to the topic of supernatural and possibilities of other beings than are known in this world, Sungmin tends to stay quiet and avoid the topic, but somehow, the more Stray Kids get to know him, he seems to fit the description very well. But that is kind of all I can tell you without spoiling it. But when you look at his design, I think there are some small hints that will help you figure it out. Now, I did something controversial for Ian. I made him an NPC, a non-playable character, meaning that instead of him being a character that the players play, he is made up by the narrator guiding them through the story, which is definitely gonna raise some questions, a lot of questions. But all I can tell you for now that there is a reason to it, and that secretly he is a guide to stray kids and where their adventure lies. When they meet him, he's not gonna look the way you're seeing him. It's actually a big spoiler drawing him like this. They're gonna just see him as a small fox boy. He's not gonna be as a humanoid. Not a furry though, not a furry. He's not a furry. Please just no furry comments, please. But yeah, he's gonna be a sorcerer, meaning that he doesn't need to learn the magic. He has been already born with it due to having dragon ancestors. But his problem is that his magic is wild, meaning that he cannot control his powers properly. And so once he joins the crew, stray kids are gonna kind of take him under his wing, trying to teach him. That's it. I hope you enjoyed this strange idea presentation slash speed draw slash fan art, and let me know if this is something that you would like to see evolve into a bigger story, either written or maybe even possibly animated. But I do need to know if there's anybody out there who would be even willing to watch it. So yeah, if you liked it, then let me know in the comments and I'll see what I can do. But that's it for now.